Today we begin Fire Emblem Heroes' Summer Seasonal Splash. We'll be talking about the Flush Summer banner, but do know that a second summer banner is highly likely, and it will be the first banner of July. Plan your orb spending wisely. Starting today, you'll be able to grab new summer ults for Olivia, Hríd, Nerþuz, and a duo of Gullveig and Seiðr. We got some old and new characters from Fae and Awakening. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus go over some general playstyle and build ideas. The first focus unit is going to be Summer Olivia. You can get her at 4-star and 5-star rarity. Olivia is back, and yes, she's still a dancer. No fancy dance, but she's a colorless flying mage, so Olivia can still access some fun skills, such as Kanto or Guidance. For stats, she has 37 HP, 40 attack, 45 speed, 21 defense, and 25 res. Speed super boon, pretty solid base speed for a support unit. 40 attack isn't too bad, and then you got low defenses across the board. For old skills, Olivia has her basic dance to refresh allies. She then comes with attack and speed far trace 3 and attack and speed rain 3. No attack and speed far trace 4 just yet, but that could be coming soon. As for this rain, you can upgrade into the hold or rain snap versions. Summer Olivia brings in Inheritable Tome, Sea Tambourine Plus, 12 might every turn. If above 25% HP, grant plus 6 attack and speed field buffs to the user and allies within 2 spaces. If above 25% HP, at start of combat, we have a couple extra checks. If it's an even turn, the user gets plus 5 attack and speed in combat. If it's an odd turn, this becomes plus 11 attack and speed instead. In addition, if you're within 5 speed of the enemy, you get full no follow-up effects. Sea Tambourine is actually a pretty neat inheritable. It's similar to the budget no follow-up melee weapons we've seen, except it's also a source of attack and speed field buffing for your team. As a dancer, obviously extra buff support is great for Olivia. If she needs to fight, you get extra offensive stats, and if she's fast enough, you can get no follow-up to double enemies. Probably don't want to take a free hit, but you can also prevent a follow-up if needed. Sea Tambourine is one of the few inheritable colorless tomes, and that is mainly because there are few colorless mages who don't have unique weapons. I think it's still Nime and Laram, but unfortunately neither of them are super fast, which makes this weapon a bit iffy. If you do want to do a speed build, then it's easily the best choice, and technically it is a hybrid support tome as well. For the most part, Summer Olivia is the best user of this weapon, extra buffing capabilities to pair with her dance, and extra attack and speed to fit her decent offensive stats. If Olivia dances an ally, Far Trace can provide Kanto, but only if she moves 1 space or not at all. If you want at least Kanto 1 every time, you're going to need to get a tier 4 Far Trace skill instead, or you need to grab the brand new Far Trace Echo. As for attack and speed rain, this can help Olivia in combat, or if you position well, she can deal with enemies for your allies. Unfortunately, she cannot run rain snap for bonus movement, but she can run hold for the larger debuffing zone. You could also go run Crux for longer range debuffing. Olivia can benefit from speed and res Crux, but the attack and res Crux is fine from the recent attuned Micaiah. With Sea Tambourine, the extra follow-up from the Crux will not be that useful, but Crux can help other allies get a double. For other support skills, flying dancers have a lot of options. Tier 4 dancer B skills or cantrip can buff/debuff while dancing. Guidance 4 or Soaring Echo or Soaring Guidance offer team warping mobility. You can run any of the regular flyer mobility skills such as aerobatics or fly formation to give Olivia warping herself. Oath 4 or Echo can do the same. Attuned skills are one way for Olivia to gain some ground on the fairy dancers and their unique dances. Mercy Wing Echo, for example, can let Olivia run a Kanto B skill while still offering the usual cross-map warp threat. If you want to give Olivia some damage, then Sea Tambourine can open up doubles into slower foes. You can pair this with Wind or Water Sweep to attack safely. That could then combo with Flared Spear to lay down flame tiles or Dither Miasma. This could also be any smoke debuffing. If you want to go this route, Far Trace Echo can be really strong here. Attack safely, lay down fire, retreat with Kanto. It also gives Kanto 1 for just regular dancing. For the most part, Summer Olivia is a fairly standard flying dancer, useful for that base refreshing, but kind of just tough to compete with the 4 fairies who have multiple ults. Attuned X skills can make Olivia a bit more competitive if you want to invest. Her weapon being a hybrid support option is another plus. Damage-wise, Olivia is decent. She can double, but don't expect anything special. Overall, never bad to add another dancer to your barracks, but the fairy dancers have kind of made it tough for regular dancers to compete in terms of support. Our next unit is Summer Hríd. Better late than never, Hríd can join his sisters at the beach. For this ult, Hríd is a Lance Cavalier with 40 HP, 47 attack, 27 speed, 47 defense, and 24 resistance. Attack super boon, very high base attack and defense. He's going to tie for second highest defense for a Cavalier. Lance Cav with lower res is pretty on par for the course, and 27 speed isn't crazy either. However, Hríd is here to represent all those building speed units with a new effect. You're gonna need to respect that quote-unquote just 27 speed. For old skills, Hríd comes with Bonfire for his sky-high defense stats, and that's about it. For his unique weapon, Hríd has the Prince's Lance, 16 Might enables Kanto 2 and accelerated specials. If unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant stats equal to 25% of the foe's attack stat at start of combat. This can go up to plus 14 to all stats if the foe has 72 flat attack. Additionally, Hríd inflicts in-combat panic, so if the foe does have field buffs, you inflict double the amount in debuffs to counter. For all attacks, Hríd has 40% damage reduction except for AoE, and then when he triggers an offensive special, heal for a percentage of max HP. This value is equal to a base 10% plus the max special cooldown value times 20. For example, Slaying Bonfire has 2 cooldown, 2 times 20 is 40, and with the base 10, that's 50% max HP healing on special trigger. Fairly simple defensive weapon, a lot of stat advantages including anti-field buff aspects. Do take note that Hríd can and will benefit from extra speed, he isn't dropping it completely. For tanking, 40% DR is nice, and then % max HP healing is solid. It's basically a built-in surge skill, but it can proc on enemy phase as well. Now, Hríd will pack more power into his unique B skill, Ice Prince's Seal. This upgrade on his remix states every turn if above 25% HP, inflict -7 speed and defense debuffs, the frozen status, and the guard status on closest foes and foes within 2 spaces of that for 1 turn. If above 25% at start of combat, inflict -5 to all stats on the foe, make a free follow-up attack, deal damage equal to 20% defense, and reduce damage by 20% defense as well. First off, combat-wise, Hríd's going to join that defense scaling club for true damage and flat DR. Flat DR plus 40% DR plus % max HP healing is pretty cool. You got a free follow-up with even more stat advantages, and this includes -7 speed and defense debuffs that's going to hit the closest foes. Like Freezing Seal 2, Hríd also inflicts a guard, but instead of attack debuffs, he inflicts speed debuffs. This is because Frozen is a status that messes with the speed rules. Normally if you have 5 or more speed than an enemy, you get to double them and they can't double you. Frozen increases the speed difference necessary for the foe to make a follow-up by X, and decreases the speed difference for Hríd's team by X. This is a negative status, so keep in mind you gotta flip the teams around when thinking of who benefits from the description. If Hríd's team has higher defense than the Frozen enemy, X is equal to 10 plus the difference between defense stats times 2. Otherwise, Frozen always alters the speed rules by 10. In the base scenario, this means Frozen foes now need 15 or more speed to double. If they have lower defense, this speed check increases further, and there is technically no cap on how high this can go. If you get out-defensed by, say, 20 times 2 is 40, with the base 10 speed, that means the foe now needs 50 plus speed to double. Yikes. Keep in mind, Frozen is not like Diamant's weapon. The speed check increases for the foe, but it also decreases for Hríd's team. If the foe needs 15 or more speed to double, Hríd only needs to be within 5 speed to double for himself. AKA, he can be 5 speed slower and still double while preventing a double. Speed rule altering skills are always a little complex, but keep in mind, even if Hríd prevents a natural double thanks to Frozen, he doesn't have anything to prevent a free follow-up skill. Any quick riposte effect will let the enemy double Hríd, no matter what kind of speed shenanigans are going on. Last new skill for Hríd is a fun classic. Wave skills are getting tier 4 upgrades, starting with Odd Defense Wave 4. At start of turn, grant plus 6 defense field buffs to the user and allies within 2 spaces for 1 turn. If the unit is within 5 defense of the enemy, grant full tempo effects in combat. If it's an odd turn, gain an additional plus 6 defense in combat. I guess it's pretty fitting for wave skills to get tier 4 versions during the summer banner. We may potentially get a ton of these since they did not combine the stat variants and they still operate on even/odd turn mechanics. The biggest change is that the field buff portion now has 2 space buffing range. It also just buffs every single turn. The only odd turn bonus is that plus 6 defense in combat. Obviously that's nice, but the new effect for Odd Defense Wave 4 is kinda crazy. You do a defense check, and if you're within 5 defense of the enemy, you gain full tempo, aka no guard, and no extra special charging. Odd Defense Wave 4 is inheritable by all units, and the tier 3 is very free-to-play friendly. While Defense Wave 4 offering tempo is cool, you still need to do the defense check. That is going to limit its users. I will say though that the buffing upgrade is very nice. For weapons like Olivia's Sea Tambourine, if you want a passive 2-space field buff, Wave 4 skills are now that option. Summer Hríd's an interesting unit. He offers passive defense field buffs via the new Odd Defense Wave 4, and in speed defense debuffs that hit the closest foe and spreads out. This also includes Guard and the new Frozen status. For general combat, Hríd has 40% DR plus flat DR equal to 20% of his defense stat, which is quite high at base. He gets a free follow-up, adds true damage, he also scaling with defense, and in general, Hríd gains a ton of stat advantages. If the foe uses field buffs, he simulates panic in combat to penalize them, and then for cooldown, Hríd has slang and possibly tempo via that defense wave 4. If he doubles and is hit back, Bonfire is going to proc, which heals with 50% max HP. Meanwhile, the guard status plus tempo may prevent foes from charging any specials at all. We then get to Hríd's unusual speed focus. 27 base speed is nothing fancy, but his weapon and B skill all improve speed, and then the frozen status messes with the speed rules. Similar to Potent, Hríd might be able to get a natural double because frozen speed rules changes scale with how much higher defense has over the foe. This could get out of hand for some really wacky scenarios. On the other hand, similar to Wyvern Rift, Hríd can possibly stop doubles from really fast enemies. For example, my maxed out Brave Erica could not double the story Hríd. However, nothing in this kit stops follow-up skills like Quick Riposte. Since Frozen as a status, Hríd can apply these weird speed changes to all his allies though. If you are someone who likes to mess around with speed builds for units who may not be the fastest naturally, then Frozen is kinda your new best buddy. However, like a certain other skill that's been added recently to the game, it does benefit higher defense units more. It may also be cleansed by the enemy, and it does stack with other speed altering effects, so it could get cancelled out. Generally, extra defense will be great for Hríd's Ace Seal and Sacred Seal stat boosters. Usually, more attack or res would be the next best options for damage and tanking, but with Frozen, you may also want to consider extra speed. It's tough to say how much speed is worth tanking, but speed and defense skills could possibly be very annoying. Catch or Clash are good, but both speed and defense variants are incredibly rare. If you want to be like his legendary ult, that Ace slot is open for distant counter. The Sacred Seal may be better though, but do be careful with mages, and unless you have someone like Veil, Hríd is open to instant specials, which mages love to have on hand. You could try Excel, but again, I think Hríd really wants to stack defense for his kit. Same for Flared Sparrow, which is still strong, especially with Kanto to retreat behind the flame line. For other skills, I think keeping the wave 4 is ideal since Hríd has some synergies with tempo. Also, it's just for extra defense. Now, Breath of Life 4 is wild, but Hríd already has healing in his kit. Attack Smoke 4 would be pretty nice for that follow-up denial status, and while you could maybe get more stats from, say, Alarm or Insight, is that better than access to defense waves tempo? For seals, we have some easier to access speed and defense skills like solo or squad ace. Attack and defense clash would be good, and Heavy Blade could maybe upgrade Bonfire to Ignis. With that said, Hríd likes DR piercing, so no quarter kind of just becomes the most enticing special by default. All in all, Summer Hríd may be a unit to watch for if you like messing with speed. The goal isn't for Hríd's team to outspeed the enemy. The goal for Frozen is to be fast enough to meet the new speed check rules for doubling. Just keep in mind, Frozen is a status, so it can be avoided or cleansed. We've been getting some very unit-specific stats effects as of late. I kinda wonder if Frozen's gonna be a strictly Hríd thing. Our next summer ult goes to Nerþuz. She's just heading from one party to the next, and even has a little Sharena cookie with her dessert. This time, Nerþuz will be a green cavalry beast unit. For stats, she has 40 HP, 46 attack, 47 speed, 33 defense, 19 res, speed super boom, higher defense focus, pretty on brand stats for her other two ults. For old skills, Nerþuz comes with Dragon Fang and the very recent Attack and Speed Excel. This is a clash type skill with flat DR for initiations, and it also reduces damage when enemy specials trigger. For Nerthuz's weapon, she has the Love of Nerþuz. First, I want to discuss its support aspect. Grants the following to allies within 3 rows or 3 columns of Nerþuz. When those allies trigger a special during combat, they gain DR piercing by a percentage equal to 10 plus the max special cooldown value times 30. 1 cooldown special gets 40% DR pierce, 2 cooldown gets 70%, and 3 cooldown specials gain 100% DR piercing. For 3 or higher cooldown offensive specials, units also gain -1 cooldown before their first attack during combat. So basically, Summer Nerþuz offers DR piercing specials for allies, kinda like Legendary Female Leer. However, this DR pierce amount scales on the cooldown value. 40% DR piercing is still great, but obviously 100% pierce is the best. For your trouble of running higher cooldown specials, you also gain -1 instant cooldown, which is a pretty good bonus. Golden Yield Bow, for example, could straight up gain -4 instant cooldown, and non-slaying Riley Spectrum units could technically charge 3 cooldown specials instantly with this Nerþuz. It's also potentially just one way to bypass 1 layer scale. Now, for the rest of the weapon, Nerþuz has accelerated specials. If above 25% HP, she gains bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of allies within 3 rows, 3 columns, times 3. Have 3 allies in that rectangular range for plus 14's max stats. In addition, Nerþuz gets full follow-up effects, she has 40% damage reduction for first attacks with an S, and then of course, she also benefits from her DR piercing special ability we talked about earlier. With Slaying, Dragon Fang goes to 3 cooldown. This means it gets -1 instant cooldown and it has 100% DR piercing. To add to her kit, the Cavalry Beast transformation bonus inflicts extra attack and defense debuffs based on movement. If Nerþuz or a foe move 2 spaces, she gets an extra 30% damage reduction for 1 hit. As usual, Nerþuz is a high-speed unit with no follow-up, and she benefits from running higher cooldown specials. She is moving away from Gale Force, but can provide allies with DR piercing specials. That's a pretty potent support ability. For Nerþuz's unique beast skill, Fruit of Life has been changed to Under the Sun. It does retain some similarities though. Enables Kanto 2. If above 25% HP, inflict -5 speed and defense on the foe, grants no guard, deals true damage equal to 20% speed, and Nerþuz gets flat damage reduction for first attacks with an S equal to 25% speed. She retains the empowered counterattack, which is extra true damage based on total damage reduced, and finally, Nerþuz heals 7 HP after combat. So, big difference is that there's no AoE gravity effect. Again, instead of a Gale Force type playstyle, this Nerþuz is shifting more toward combat with DR piercing specials. No guard makes it consistent to charge specials. She actually keeps the flat DR based on speed from her New Year's ult. This actually just trades places with the 40% DR on the weapon. Percent DR plus flat DR combo is solid, and you get extra flat DR via Excel. Kanto 2 is good, hitting sustain is good, and as usual, Nerþuz is going to hit back harder if the foe doesn't KO her. It's a very solid skill. Now, Nerþuz brings in an inheritable C skill called the Beast Threaten. Every turn, inflict -7 defense and panic on foes within 3 rows or 3 columns, centered on unit through their next actions. Additionally, if a foe is in range for those penalties, then the user gains +6 attack field balls and times pulse. AKA, if you're at max cooldown, you gain -1 cooldown. Beast Threaten is inheritable by all beast units, and it upgrades from Threaten Defense 3, which is a launch skill, very easy to get. You can grab this skill and Excel all in one go. The Threaten range extends to the Ploy/Crux type range, and in a sort of half menace fashion, we get attack buffs and inflict defense debuffs. Basically, it's just more damage for the beast unit. On top of this, you get panic application and then times pulse. For non-infantry beasts, that's a pretty big deal. It's kind of a strange new skill, but cooldown is always valuable, so definitely an option worth considering. Thanks to Beast Threaten and Slaying, Nerþuz can take Dragon Fang down to 2 cooldown every player phase. Before she attacks, she gains another -1 cooldown. Her basic attack will grant another -1 thanks to no guard, so if Nerþuz is able to double back to back, she can proc her special, and it's going to have 100% DR piercing. In case you run into Scowl, Under the Sun's instant cooldown can cancel out 1 layer of Scowl. If Nerþuz doubles and gets hit back, she can still proc Dragon Fang, and it's actually empowered with whatever damage she reduced from getting hit. Nerþuz is going to have 40% DR, plus flat DR equal to 25% speed, which is pretty high. If she's transformed, that's potentially another 30% damage reduction as well, and then Excel adds extra flat DR too. It's a pretty crazy kit. For other perks, Beast Threaten buffs attack, deals the foe's defense, and applies panic. Under the Sun has speed and defense debuffs, true damage, and after combat sustain, also Kanto 2. Her weapon gives no follow-up and provides DR piercing support to allies when they proc their specials. Overall, very solid kit, although Nerþuz won't have any guaranteed transformation skills. Unless you give her the brand new Beast Sacred Seal. Beast, yeah, that is the name, is a new Sacred Seal that basically just lets any beast unit transform at any time. It comes from the new Tempest Trials. Since Nerþuz has a unique beast skill in all of her ults, she can't run any of the beast-specific beast skills to guarantee transformations. This new beast seal is an answer to that problem if you need Nerþuz next to human allies. If you can play around it, slot in the usual attack and speed boosters, maybe some extra defense or guard, and perhaps desperation, although that's a little risky. While Excel is new and able to stack flat damage reduction, you could technically do clash to neutralize debuffs. Insight in the C-slot can also provide more speed than Beast Threaten, and Fatal Smoke is definitely a tool some may want to have nowadays. Feud's another good counter-specific option. For specials, you technically could drop 2 1 or 2 cooldown specials. Sling plus Beast Threaten can precharge your Moonbow, and that instant proc would still have 4% DR piercing. It also possibly means double Moonbow procs if Nerþuz is hit back and doubles. It's pretty solid and maybe worth running for upfront burst. While this Nerþuz isn't a Gale Force specialist, you could still run it. You're probably going to want another cooldown effect though. In conclusion, Summer Nerþuz is still a high speed unit who has multiple % DR and flat DR sources. Her DR piercing special support is valuable, especially since it extends across the map. Seems like a solid kit, and I wonder what seasonal party Nerþuz will show up to next. Last up for today, we have a dual pairing for Summer Gullveig and Seiðr. Probably the least surprising Summer ult, this Gullveig seems to have turned her snakes into a cute floaty. To honor their past selves, this Gullveig's a Red Mage Cavalier. For stats, she has 40 HP, 46 attack, 47 speed, 24 defense, and 17 res. Speed super boon, no surprise there. For ult skills, this is a Gullveig ult, so Flared Sparrow is of course present. She will also have speed and res for Trace 4. Gullveig and Seiðr's weapon is the Golden Sunlight Tome. 14 might accelerate specials. If the unit initiates or the foe has more than 75% HP, grant bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of foes within 3 rows or 3 columns times 3. If 3 foes are in range, this can grant a max plus 14 to all stats. If Gullveig were to defeat targets, normally she's going to be losing stats. However, this skill states, in second combat in either phase, Gullveig will just get the max plus 14 stats all the time. In addition, she deals true damage equal to 20% speed and has 50% DR piercing for all attacks. For initiations only, Gullveig gets 70% damage reduction for first attacks with an S, and as usual, she gets an extra action while self-inflicting gravity. This can occur every other turn. Pretty standard weapon from Gullveig. We've got high 70% DR, which now works on brave hits, and she has more stats to tank with. Gullveig will be getting extra actions, and this ult has 50% DR piercing, which is a pretty good addition. Gullveig will have a new unique special, but it should sound familiar. Time and Light is a 2-cooldown special, boosts damage by 30% speed and grants no guard. If initiating and this special triggers, grant an extra action after combat. This extra action can occur once per turn, and it takes priority over other extra action abilities. Despite being our shiny new dual hero, dual Gullveig is honestly pretty easy to understand because she really is just Mythic Gullveig for the most part. Time and Light is quite literally just a 2 cooldown version of the 3 cooldown Time is Light from Mythic. The only difference is lower damage. Since Time and Light's extra action takes priority, it will not trigger Golden Sunlight's extra action. This means Gullveig can get 3 actions in a phase every other turn. If you proc Time and Light, like Go Force, you can get 2 actions in a phase all the time. Now, dual Gullveig and Seiðr's dual skill is also one we've seen before. Grants unit another action, can only be used if unit has entered combat in the current turn. This is the same dual skill the ninja units typically get, and it's a Gale Force dual skill since you need to fight to be able to use it. With this dual skill, Gullveig can now get 4 actions in a turn. She does not refresh content like dual Sharena, but unlike her weapon and special, this dual skill does not self-inflict gravity, meaning Gullveig gets to use her full 3 cavalry movement again. If needed, you can just use that to run away. Last new skill for today is actually also not new. Gullveig will come with Odd Speed Wave 4. Every turn, grant plus 6 speed field bust to unit and ally within 2 spaces. If the unit is within 5 speed of their foe, they get full follow-up effects. If it's an odd turn, gain an extra plus 6 speed in combat. Odd Speed Wave is new, but we've talked about it because Summer Olivia's Sea Tambourine is basically just an Odd Speed Wave 4 weapon. Technically, it also boosts attack, but we don't know if these solo attack waves are going to have a different ability tied to them. It's more like a Speed Wave 4 weapon that also boosts attack. Now, similar to Odd Defense Wave 4, this skill is inheritable by all units, which means now everyone can get access to full no follow-up. You do need to do a speed check, but unlike Tempo, which any unit can utilize, typically no follow-up wants high-speed units anywhere. Now, the main benefactors of this skill will be ranged cows and flyers because they have no follow-up skills available. Melee units and cows have flow skills, but those are player phase only and most only give offense and no follow-up. Speed Wave 4 gives the whole package and works on either phase, but you gotta have competitive speed. For the most part, dual Summer Gullveig and Seiðr aren't bringing anything we haven't seen before. They are basically just an updated Mythic Gullveig, and as usual, if you like Mythic Gullveig, then now you can have another for any different season. Generally, this ult has more stats, better DR since it works on brave hits, and pretty importantly, Gullveig herself has some DR piercing. Time and Light going to a 2 cooldown special means it's able to be procced in 2 hits back to back without extra cooldown perks, thanks to Slaying. This means you can run Desperation or Wind/Water Sweep, and Gullveig can still trigger the special and of course the extra action. The dual skill also has another extra action, and Odd Speed Wave 4 gives no follow-up, which was missing from the weapon. With Flared Sparrow's Flame Tiles, Gullveig can stack the instant damage when attacking again, and she can trigger multiple lines of fire. You can also use Far Trace to retreat a little, and the dual skill could grant even more movement. Some concerns for this Gullveig is there's no real response to the new Breath of Life 4. Technically, the DR piercing helps with actual run rounding, but that's not going to matter against a certain emblem hero. Also, since Oddspeed Wave is Gullveig's no follow-up source, you can't run things like Diva's Smoke for Pathfinder or even a simple Savage Blow. This Gullveig also doesn't have any healing, so if she does take a big hit, 70% DR may not be enough to take another hit. With that said, Gullveig doesn't have any 25% HP conditions, meaning low HP skills and tactics are easier to run. With multiple actions, you could dip into Fury Rico damage for, say, Wings of Mercy allies. Desperation 3 is fine in either slot, since Time and Light procs with a 1-2 punch. To try and punch through a certain hero who gets sturdier with later hits, like Nerþuz, you could pre-charge Time and Light for an instant special. Quick Impulse is simple, but deadly. Some players also used AoE specials on the other Gullveigs. Some pre-charge support would be nice here, but basically the idea is the extra actions and no guard. Gullveig's going to eventually get to the higher AoE burst. In conclusion, Dual Gullveig has a lot in common with her other alts. If you enjoy extra action nukers, then she's another unit to add to the collection. There's not a ton of changes here, but gaining half tier piercing is a great upgrade for sure. That'll be it for the first summer banner for 2024. Some reminders. Highly likely the first banner of July is the second summer seasonal banner. Faye's done 2 back-to-back banners for 7 years, and this first one will last long enough to see who else is joining the splash party. I expect a couple more engaged characters this year. Another banner to watch out for is the end of the month 8% one. Confirmed, this month we're getting another emblem hero, and I feel emblems are just too valuable to ignore simply due to the engage mechanic. If you want to wait and see what is coming in a couple weeks, in the meantime, you can play with Summer Vague, who is our Tempest Trials unit. Teach may be late, but he's just in time for summer vacation. We'll talk about the Vague more next video, and we'll also talk about that new Beast Sacred Seal as well. Thank you for watching, good luck on your summons, and I will see you guys in the next video.